Okay, guys. So the next stage, of what we're gonna do is we're gonna now that we've changed the wall types and that kind of stuff, we're gonna actually learn how to detail or produce a detail for our model or for our drawing sets. So a detail is typically 1 to 10, 1 to 5 drawing that outlines the various parts of your wall or floor or roof or different whatever component you want. Window, it's a component drawing that kind of shows the various layers and annotates the various layers, so that you can actually understand what's happening inside the wall at a bit more of a legible scale. Okay, so what we're going to do is create our detail, annotate it, and present it as a detail. Okay, so if I go to ground floor, if I go, the first thing we need to do is create a section of the wall. Okay, so we've created the big sections, but what we want to do, so you can actually go into your big sections and do this as well. So you can go into your big sections and do this as well. Or if you've not done that yet, you can actually just create a section. So just to remind you how you create a section, if you go to View, Section. So what I just want is to create a section of the wall. Okay, just a small part of the wall. You'll see in your project browser under sections, you'll see that section has appeared now. So I click on that section, that'll just be part of the wall. Okay, so there's nothing too interesting there. If I bring that down, couple things we need to do here is we want to change the detail to fine so I can see a bit of detail. So you can see some of the detail there. That's still not enough because that's still only at 1 to 50. What we want to do is create a call out. Okay, a call out is basically as a part of a section or a part of a plan. This can also be done in plan view as well. That creates a separate drawing that can be as a reference point to that section on a bigger section. Okay, so to create a callout, if you go to View, create callout, we're just going to create a little box around a square callout around a part of the wall. Again, you can include windows in there if you want. You click that, you can move this around. You can move this part around in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, so you can move that around. So you can move the little tab around where you want it. Again, these will be referenced depending on how you label them and all that kind of stuff. So these will be referenced as callouts. So you can see now on your project browser, you'll see callout 1. So you double click on there, and now that takes you into the callout. Okay, so within the callout, again, what we want to do is this is just that part of the wall that we're going to detail. We're going to add in. I mean, it's got some detail in it. It's got the different layers in it, but we want different. We want the actual detail layers in there. So we want to show the insulation. We want to show all the layers of the brick and the block, as well as all the timber battens that hold up the plasterboard. So we want a bit more information there than just the layers. Okay, so a couple of things we're going to do now is we're going to change the detail levels, make sure that's fine. So you'll see that's now fine. It was on fine. If we change that to, again, it can be 1 to 10, it can be 1 to 5. You'll see it changes the level of information or the perceived level of information on that drawing. So if I maybe 1 to 10, so a good one to start from. So the first layer we're going to add is our insulation. So insulation sits in the middle here. This is the brick, this is the brick, sorry, and this is the block. So we're going to add in our insulation layer. Okay, to do this, what we're going to do, you see this is almost like Photoshop on top of the drawings. Okay, so you're actually adding another layer of information on top of the drawings. This information is not actually in the actual model itself. It's drawn on top of the model. Okay, in this particular view. So I usually reference, or I usually liken that to photoshopping the CAD drawing. Okay, so the things you do here are not replicate on other drawings. So because you draw the illustration here, will not that won't replicate on other drawings, and you've got to do all your details manually in different views and that if that's what you want to do. They won't be added to the 3D component of your model. Okay, so that's something to bear in mind, that this is all just a layer that goes above your model, and that is specific to that callout view or that section view if you're doing this in sections. So if you go to add some insulation, if you go to annotate, and you'll see a lot of the under the detail. This is where we will predominantly be working, the detail panel. So if you go to insulation, this is the squiggly line is the insulation symbol on detailed drawings. Now we know the insulation width is a 100. A couple other things you might want to do. So it says here up here you can offset obviously with this 100. I typically go with either near side or far side, because what that means is you can draw on, for example, I can draw on one of these walls. I'll draw along one of these walls by clicking there, and then it will mean that your insulation will be exactly where it should be. Okay, if you're trying to center it, sometimes it's centered, sometimes it doesn't. It's not 100% centered. If you go by one of the near side or far side walls and draw along the wall itself, you will get accurate, especially if you know the thickness as well. You will get an accurate layer so that it fits exactly where it should fit in. You can also manually move it by hovering over the wall detail using the tab buttons to find your actual material. If you go hover over it, you can actually use your mouse, not your mouse, your arrow buttons to actually nudge it into position if you want to do a bit more finer detail and location of kind of where the component should be. Okay, so the next layers we're going to add is the brick and block layers. As I said, this is photoshopping and essentially masking on top of the actual model. So we're going to add in the various block sizes and brick sizes on top of the actual layers themselves. So to do that, if you go to annotate component, if you click on the little triangle, it gives you two options. It gives you a detail component. These are specific one-offs, one-off components that you can download, or there's a good collection of them on Revit. So there's just one-off things that you might want to put into your actual detail, and the repeating wall details. So repeating details are components that are repeated, have multiple instances, and kind of are repeated in a specific kind of centers. Okay, so for example, brick and block are repeating components because they just continue in the same thickness and same size as you draw. Okay, so first we're going to do is create obviously a repeating detail component. Now if you go into your properties panel, you'll see this is what we have here to work with. So if I go down to for it. 126. Okay, so now we're going to look at the brick and the block and essentially add in more detail to them. Just now we just have the layers, but we're going to add in the mortar joints and obviously make sure that they all line up in terms of section, in terms of how you normally build it. Under an annotate component, you will see, if you click on the little triangle in a drop down box, you'll see detail components. If you click on that, you'll see a number of detail components. These are standard one-off components that you can put into your model, into your detail. Here is a limited kind of version of these what's available in the actual Revit templates. You have much more samples of them to put in. You can actually load them in as well. If you go load family, if you go to you'll probably be seeing this screen. If you go to detail items, you've got all the bits to pick from that selection as well. So you can actually bring in more as well. So there is a lot more in the actual template. Not this template. This template's been stripped off in terms of some of the ones that it's more the essential ones that we need to show. But if I go in, the other bit is quite important to see is repeating detail component. These are essentially repeating elements that are kind of when you draw it, it repeats them. So for example, brick mortar joints are a repeating element within a wall. Therefore, you would draw it and it will draw it at the right centers, at the right height, at the right distances, as you draw your line. Okay, so you don't have to work out distances and that kind of stuff. Will work out because it's set to work out, and it's set to put in the actual component at the specified centers within the actual properties of that component. So here we're going to add some brickwork mortar joints. So if you go to component, if you go to detail component, or actually, so sorry, if you go to repeating detail component, if you go into there, you'll see mortar joints. Okay, so in the actual in the more detailed one, you can get actual brickwork as well. So you can actually get brick as a repeating element. Here we're just going to put the mortar joints on. So we're working in section, not in plan. So if you go to mortar joint brick section, this has all been worked out. If you hover over, if you start at the bottom, so you can see there, start at the bottom, make sure you're on a line, not in the middle somewhere. Make sure you're on a line, and then you just work your way up. Okay, you'll see it in grey. It will start to put in the mortar joints. So if you just keep going all the way up, past the top of it, and click off, and then that will add in now the mortar joints for the brickwork. Similarly, if you go back in, you skip that. If you go back in and type in detail component again, all that. Again, we're going to add in, repeating detail. So repeating detail component, and then if we click on block, mortar joint block section, because we're working in section. Again, same thing. If you start at the bottom and you work your way up, it will add in the joints. Okay. Now, one thing here to note is that ideally these mortar joints should line up in reality, because we put wall ties there. So if you click on the actual tab, if you click on the mortar joint, sorry, if you just use your cursor, use your arrow buttons on your keyboard to kind of line them up, so they're roughly in line, because each 3 bricks should equal 1 block in this example. Okay, so that's how you add in the joints. Again, as I said, in the actual templates, you will find other ones that have the actual brickwork attached to them as well. Here, another thing to notice here is that we've not actually got the hatch pattern on for the brick, so we're going to add that in as well. To do that, if you go into the actual wall properties, so if you hover over the entire wall, click on that, go back to your wall properties, edit type, now and then structure, edit for that wall type. If you go preview, now we see the brickwork's got its hatch on it, but the blockwork doesn't. Some blockwork does come with the hatches on it, but I'm going to show you how you put the hatch in manually. Okay, so if it doesn't come with it on automatically, you can put it in manually. So if you just click on the blockwork, I said some blockwork will have that on automatically. Under graphics, you'll see cut pattern. You click on the pattern itself, you'll see blockwork. So blockwork's usually the crosses there. Okay, so depending on just dense or lightweight, I just typically go with the standard low to medium density. So we click OK, click OK again, and click OK. You'll see it's applied it. Click OK, and that will now apply the blockwork hatch on top of within the wall section itself. You've got the mortar joints as well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to add is the wall ties. So if I go to analyze and annotate, and if you go to component, repeating detail component, you see here there is a number of wall types. So we're going to pick double triangle vertical wall type, because this section is vertical. Note that this wall type isn't the actual wall type you'd use for a full fill cavity. You can find these wall ties. You can find detail components obviously in Revit's folders, or you can download them online as well. There's a good collection of different types of wall ties. Wall ties essentially are within the walls to tie both internal and external leaf together, so that it acts as one wall essentially. rather than two separate walls, so they both kind of become more rigid as a complete unit. So so yeah, this wouldn't be one that would be used typically in a full fill insulation cavity wall. Typically, it would be maybe partial fill cavity walls, but we'll use it anyway. So yeah, we selected it. It's all set up in terms of the distances and that kind of stuff. So if we start in the center of the wall, if we just work our way up, keep working our way up until we finish all the wall. Okay, so once we're done, you can see here it's not in the right place. It should be in the middle of the. It should be in the actual mortar, not in the actual brick. So if you click on, if you find it, so if you find it, use your arrow buttons on your keyboard to put that into position, so that you should see that they line up on either side, and it's in the middle. And then it goes all the way. So if you've done the mortars right in one instance, this should all be right after that, because it's all pre-programmed in terms of the right distances, right centers. Okay, so every 2 blocks there typically is a cavity, mortar, a cavity wall tie. Okay, so the next thing we're going to add is our timber battens. The plasterboard will typically be screwed into timber frame or timber battens, just so that you're not screwing into obviously the blockwork directly, and also creates a void for services to run. So you're going to have a series of battens running vertically and horizontally to kind of screw the plasterboard onto. So we're going to add some timber battens here. So this is how you'd add in manually some bespoke components into your detail. So if you go into component, detail component, we're going to take there's one available here. Is if you go down to the bottom, there is a timber stud. Okay, 150 by 100. Now this isn't the right size. Okay, so what we're going to do, so you can see it's not the right size. Battens would typically be smaller than that. I mean, our battens are going to be 40 by 40. Typically it might be 25 by 38. So depending on the size, you have to kind of know what size of battens you need. But for this, we need to edit obviously the batten. It's not the right size of batten. So this is how you customize an existing component, and this can be done with any type of component that you want to do some modifications to make them more suited to what you need it to, rather than having to create from scratch. So if you go to edit type, we go duplicate, we're going to make one that's 40 times 40 batten. Click OK. Now if you go down, you'll see here this component itself does have editable width and depth factors on them, so parameters on them. So if we go 40 and then make that 42, so that's now a 40 by 40 batten. You click OK. You'll see now it's changed to 40 by 40. Again, I could put them in manually, so I'll just put them one in the bottom, maybe at the top. Maybe these again, you can make repeating components out of these. It's slightly more that's slightly more advanced, so I'm not going to go over that just now. But these would typically be at centers as well. So, but for this instance, I'm just kind of demonstrating how you put in bespoke content. So these again, they could be a bit smaller than that. So if you go edit type, you might make them 38 by 38. So if I just go in there, I don't need to change it again. I'm just going to edit all these to about 38 to 38. Okay, that's made them a bit smaller. So again, I just tweak them into position. Use the arrow keys, tweak them into position. There we go. So that's also got the battens, the detail components. This is pretty much looking like a detail section would normally. The next stage is to add in some annotations. Okay, to annotate our detail, what we're going to do is add some text and some leaders to show where all the components are. So if we go to annotate text, you'll see here under the leaders, you can actually have a number of leaders. You can just add text and no leaders. You can have one leader, one segment leader, or two segment leaders, or a curved. Up to you how you want to kind of present it. Some obviously some alignment properties there as well. I'm going to add in a two leader, a segment with two leaders. So when you annotate in your section, obviously we're going to pick out all the different components and kind of describe what they are. You can make it quite simple, but the way I typically want to do it is I want to be as accurate as possible based on the specification that I might have of the wall type. Now for you guys, you might want to go on to, for example, a manufacturer's website or installation website, or looking at building construction manuals to find out the different layers of walls and different specification of materials to kind of add some more accuracy into your details. I've went on a manufacturer's installation manufacturer's website to find this kind of detail specification. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to put on my one. So to add in a detail annotation, if I'm just going to add in the first one. So if I just click on the blockwork, sorry, and then leader will come in again. Second leader will come in, and then I'll get the text box. So once you're in the text box, it's like add in any other text. So this layer is my 100 millimeter inner leaf blockwork. Okay, click off that. That gives you your leader. Okay, that gives you your text for annotation. So I'm going to add in the rest of them. So again, if I click on the next one here, again the blue dashed lines will come up to kind of if you want to make everything in line and have them all in one line. So here I've got 38 times 38 buttons. And then if I go back to, again, text, to leader, okay, so that's the plasterboard. Again, if I go to the next side, so if I want to add in, for example, the insulation, so this is Kingspan Therm K106. So that's the manufacturer's. So this is taken from Kingspan, as probably it's quite obvious, but yeah. So I've actually taken this from Kingspan. That's the insulation type. And then again, you can go into the wall type, wall tie. You can say at 400 CTRS, so you can actually mention how much centers things need to be at. I don't know if that's accurate to be honest, but yeah, you can actually mention how different centers, how the spacing of different components. That adds again a bit more detail to your detail. Last bit here is your brickwork. Do another leader there. 102.5 brick leaf, and click off that. Okay, so now we've got all the different components for our annotation. So again, that's starting to look a bit more accurate in terms of what we need to see. If you can't see the text, if you hover over the little the solid black line, click on that. You see the dashed line on the outer side. Make sure that is obviously outside well enough to see the text, because if it's not, if it's here, you won't see the text. Okay, so if you're not seeing the text, it means your viewpoint for the annotations are limited. So you need to actually expand it so that you can actually see it. as well, so you can make sure that they are beyond your text. Okay, the next one, the final thing we could do is sometimes it's nicer to have it without the black box. To take away the black box, if you go hide and show crop region at the bottom there, that gets rid of the box. Okay, you can always bring it back if you want. You can tidy up if you want, so you can bring it in if you want a bit more. So depending on what you want to see, you might want to bring it in. So you can edit and then get rid of, hide it, and that is your final detail, which you can now import into your sheets as you see fit. Again, if you start editing your sizes, the text will now shift as well. So change text size will change. So that's a good thing about doing it in this format, because as you change the scales, you can edit the text will automatically edit based on the size of the drawing, the scale of the drawing, which is an advantage. You don't have to go back in and change any of that. Okay, so that's now ready to be put into your sheets as a detail component. Same process for floors, ceilings, any other components. You can do this in plan as well, in section. Same process. Do create a call out, go through the annotation process of adding a different layer of information on top of your actual drawing, the 3D model, and then adding the annotations to kind of add some more detail in terms of descriptions and specification, and that gives you your overall. So pick and choose where you want to kind of add some details in.